Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever, looked at Switzerland on a map? Tiny country right in the heart of Europe. And maybe pictured a sort of single Swiss look, maybe that classic alpine image, tall, fair, blue eyes. Well, here's the thing that really surprises people. Switzerland is actually, visually, one of Europe's most diverse places. Seriously, sit in a cafe in Geneva or just watch people at the Zurich train station. The range of features is amazing. And yet, they're all Swiss. So our mission today is to really unpack why. Why do Swiss people defy that single stereotype so strongly? We're going to explore how its, unique geography, centuries of history, and all these waves of migration wove this incredible human tapestry. We'll use our sources to dig into the details, eye color, skin tone, height, hair, even facial features, to help you understand this fascinating blend. What makes this little country such a genetic crossroads? This deep dive, hopefully, will give you a shortcut to understanding it all.
It really is that first impression, isn't it? This unexpected diversity in a place often seen as quite uniform. Our sources really emphasize that Switzerland isn't just lines on a map. It's like a living record of European history, etched right onto people's faces. It immediately makes you ask, how did that happen? How did this rich mix come about?
Exactly. That's the core mystery we want to get into today. When you look closely, Switzerland is dominated by the Alps, obviously, but it's also bordered by 5 different nations: Germany, France, Italy, Austria, Liechtenstein. So it's this natural meeting point for Germanic, Romance, even old Celtic influences. And the Alps themselves, they're not just scenery. They played this kind of dual role, didn't they? Barriers, but also bridges.
Precisely. They acted as barriers, keeping some communities and valleys really isolated for ages. But there were also pathways for trade, for armies, for constant movement of people.
So it's this paradox, right? A small country that's somehow both isolated and incredibly open. How does that work?
That paradox is absolutely key. It's central to understanding everything else we'll talk about. Switzerland really embodies this idea of diversity packed into a small space. The geography, especially those deep valleys, kept communities distinct. Certain traits could persist there. But then history, with people constantly moving across the continent, ensured nonstop blending, especially at the crossroads. It's this push and pull that creates the mosaic we see.
Okay, so that's the big picture, the foundation. Let's start peeling back layers, specific features. What about eye color? What does that tell us?
Eye color is a fantastic starting point. It's like a visible marker of migration history. Research shows about 45 to 50% of Swiss people have blue or gray eyes. And this is really noticeable in the northern cantons, Zurich, Basel, Bern. It lines up closely with their Germanic neighbors.
Okay, so a strong Northern European link there.
Definitely. But then move south, and the picture changes. Around 30% have brown eyes, much more common down in Ticino, the Italian-speaking part, and southern Valais that clearly points to Italian and broader Mediterranean connections.
And the rest, about 20%.
Yeah, the remaining 20% show hazel or green eyes. You often find these in those mixed regions, the border areas between language groups. Our sources stress this isn't random. It's the direct result of centuries of people moving around.
And this goes way back, right? It's not just recent history.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking millennia. Historians point to ancient Celtic tribes making their mark first. Then Roman soldiers marched through, bringing Mediterranean genes. Later, you had Germanic groups like the Alemanni and Burgundians migrating from the north, carrying those genes for lighter pigmentation.
Wow. So if you're sitting in that Geneva cafe.
Exactly. You could easily see someone with bright blue eyes walk past, then someone with deep brown eyes, then maybe green or hazel. Each face is like a little snapshot of European history unfolding right there.
That layering effect, does it show up in skin tone too?
Very clearly.
Yeah.
There's a noticeable gradient there as well. About 65% of Swiss people have light to fair skin, mostly in the German-speaking areas. But then maybe 25% have more olive or light brown undertones. You see that more in Ticino and French-speaking Romandie.
And the remaining percentage?
Around 10% show medium to darker complexions. And this is interesting. It's not just from historical Mediterranean links anymore. It also reflects Switzerland's significant immigrant population today. Nearly 26% of residents are foreign-born, adding new diversity.
So again, geography plays a role, those isolated alpine valleys preserving lighter complexions historically.
Well, the southern trade routes were constantly bringing in new influences from Italy and beyond.
And now modern migration adds whole new layers from the Middle East, Africa, Asia. It's a continuously evolving picture.
It really is. It's dynamic.
Okay, what about physical build? Height, for instance.
Height gives us another dimension. Swiss people are generally quite tall, Data from a few years back put average Swiss men at about 178 centimeters, that's 5'10", and women at 165 centimeters, or 5'5" man. So taller than average for Mediterranean countries, but maybe a touch shorter than, say, the Dutch.
What drives that? Diet? Genetics? Both.
It seems to be both. Researchers point to the traditional Swiss diet, lots of dairy, cheese, meat from mountain farming, good nutrition. And then there are genetic studies suggesting alpine populations often carry traits from more robust builds, adapted for high altitude.
You can almost see that, right? If you go hiking places like Graubünden or Valais.
Absolutely. People often comment on the sort of sturdy, athletic look of the locals there. It's lifestyle, but it's also genetic shaped over time.
Fascinating. And hair, another visible trait. What's the breakdown there?
Hair color shows that mix again. Around 40% have blonde or light brown hair. Then a larger group, about 25%, have medium to dark brown hair, and maybe 10 to 12% have black hair. Red hair is pretty rare, like 1 to 2%, often linked to families with Celtic roots, especially in the West.
And texture, does that vary much?
Yeah, texture tells a story too. Straight hair is the most common, maybe 65–70%. But wavy hair is noticeably more frequent in Romany and Ticino again, that Mediterranean connection popping up. And curly hair, while maybe less common historically among the native Swiss, is much more visible now in cities. That reflects immigrant families bringing diverse hair patterns, like Afro-textured or South Asian curls. It adds to the richness.
It really does paint this picture of constant evolution, doesn't it? Okay, let's talk facial features. Is there a typical alpine look versus a Mediterranean look in faces?
Anthropologists have looked at this quite a bit. They often describe it as a blend, like alpine strength meets Mediterranean softness. So in German-speaking areas, you might see more high cheekbones, straight noses, maybe more angular jaws, features often associated with alpine populations. But then head to Ticino or Geneva, and you might see rounder faces, softer lines, maybe more aquiline noses, features common in northern Italy or southern France.
And it all comes back to the mountains again, acting as barriers and bridges.
Exactly. Our sources really hammer this home. Those deep central alpine valleys like in Uri or Glarus, they kept communities quite genetically stable for a long time.
Yeah.
Specific local looks could persist, but then the big trade hubs, Geneva, Lugano, they were like sponges, constantly absorbing outside influences.
So let's picture it. A classroom in Lausanne, maybe.
Yeah, perfect example. Lausanne is a diverse city. In one classroom, you could genuinely have kids with those sharp, blonde alpine features sitting right next to classmates with olive skin and softer Mediterranean features. And they are all just Swiss, no question about it.
Okay, so the visual evidence is strong. Does the genetic science back this up?
It absolutely does. Recent genetic studies, like one from 2017, confirm this beautifully. They found that Swiss populations genetically cluster right between Central Europeans and Mediterranean groups. It's a real mix. If you break it down roughly, it's like 55–60% Germanic ancestry, 25–30% Celtic and Gallo-Roman, and maybe 10–15% Mediterranean.
So genetically, Switzerland really is one of Europe's most balanced crossroads.
Precisely. It wasn't isolated like some islands or peninsulas. Its central location meant constant mixing via trade and migration routes. But the mountain valleys also preserved distinct local variations. It's that tension again, open to Europe yet closed off in pockets. That specific dynamic is why you get such diversity in a relatively small area.
It makes so much sense when you put it like that. It's not just stats, it's how history and geography literally shape the people. But this diversity, as natural as it is, it also fuels a debate today, doesn't it, about what a typical Swiss person looks like?
Oh, definitely. That's a really live issue. What does Swiss look like? You have some people who claim to that traditional alpine stereotype, tall, fair, blue eyes. That image gets promoted sometimes. But then many others argue quite strongly that Switzerland's real identity is found in its diversity. For them, a blonde farmer from Bern, an olive-skinned family from Lugano, someone with dark hair in cosmopolitan Geneva, they all represent Swissness.
And this isn't just a casual chat, right? Our sources say it gets quite heated in politics and media, especially around immigration.
Yes, it can become quite charged. That old alpine stereotype sometimes gets used, implicitly or explicitly, to define who belongs. Critics might cling to that image, suggesting a narrower definition of who is truly Swiss. Whereas younger generations generally are much more likely to embrace the multicultural reality as just, well, reality. You see debates online, for instance, about whether someone with darker skin or a non-Germanic name is seen as equally Swiss by everyone. It touches deep nerves about identity.
But from a scientific standpoint?
Scientifically, the idea of a single, ancient, pure Swiss look is just inaccurate. Scientists stress Switzerland has always been a mix. From the Celts, the Romans, the Alemanni, the Burgundians, blending is the historical norm, not the exception. So the diversity we see today isn't new. It's fundamental to what Switzerland is, genetically and historically. Understanding the deep past is crucial.
Let's try to visualize that again. Back to the Zurich train station.
Okay, rush hour. You see that tall, blonde man, sharp features, rushing for his train. Classic Alpine look, maybe? But right next to him, maybe a young woman with rich brown hair, striking hazel eyes, sipping coffee. And over there, a family chatting excitedly in Italian darker olive skin. Kids with bouncy dark curls. From Ticino, perhaps. The variety is just there, obvious. And nobody bats an eye. They're all just Swiss commuters.
Or picture a quiet village deep in the Valais Mountains.
Yeah, you might see older folks with those sturdy builds, fair skin weathered by the sun products of generations of mountain life. But then their grandkids might have different features, maybe darker hair or eyes, reflecting more recent family connections from elsewhere, perhaps immigrant backgrounds blending in. Each face tells part of the story, ancient roots, modern connections, all woven together.
It feels like this visual diversity mirrors something else fundamental about Switzerland, its languages.
Exactly. German, French, Italian, Romansh. 4 official languages. There's this underlying pride in unity despite the differences. Being Swiss isn't about looking one way or speaking one language. It's more about belonging to this shared culture neutrality, independence, coexistence. The national narrative has shifted, from just being about alpine farmers to embracing diversity as part of its core identity, its strength.
There's an emotional component there, a pride in that complex identity.
For sure. A move away from old stereotypes towards embracing the multifaceted reality.
So let's wrap this up. Bringing it all together, why do Swiss people look so different?
Well, it boils down to this. Switzerland is both a mountain fortress and a European crossroads. That's the key.
Its people carry Germanic blue eyes, Celtic freckles, Mediterranean skin tones.
Right. Shaped by alpine genes, hardy diets, but also just centuries and centuries of migration flowing through.
The science really shows it's this paradox. Geography kept some groups distinct, but history ensured constant mixing.
Which is why they look so varied today. Because the country was always both divided by mountains and united by its position in Europe.
So the final thought for you, our listener. Next time you meet someone Swiss, maybe in Zurich, Geneva, Lugano, or even a tiny village, just notice the details. The hair color, the eye color, the skin tone, the build. Each person carries a little piece of that complex history. Celts, Romans, Alemanni, and so many others.
Maybe that's the real lesson here. Swiss people don't look so different in spite of their history.
They look so different because of it.